In today's show, that's not how I start this. Is it? No, that is it. Oh, my God. Whew. All right. In today's show, the radio voice of the Portland Trail Blazers, Travis Demers, joins the program, and we hit you with a little Trail Blazers optimism. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trail Blazers, your daily Portland Trail Blazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trail Blazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. Locked On Blazers, your team every day. Today's show, a very special one. Joining me, a returning guest to the program, the radio voice of the Portland Trail Blazers, Travis Demers. Travis, how you doing?
I'm great, Mike. Thanks so much for having me on. I hear all the time how much people love your podcast. I'm like, all right, I got to get on it again. So thanks for having me.
Well, good. I appreciate the love from whoever is telling Travis that. I will say that when people stop by Media Row or whatever, I like when they tap me and I'm like, oh, are they going to say something nice about Locked On Blazers? And they say, can you get Travis? I'm like, yeah, no problem.
Someone actually said that. That's
let me
cool.
get Travis. Hold on one second. Yeah, so particularly when I sit on the close end, not the sort of far 114 end or 112 end. We are going to talk Trail Blazers optimism today. The Blazers are 9-15. They're 4-8 in their last 12, 3-7 in the last 10. If you want to cut it up by sort of more normal NBA standards, they're in 10th place in the West. I think overall, standings wise, this is probably exactly where you thought they would be, but how they baked the cake is a little bit different. So we're going to get into some reasons why during this first 24 game stretch things have been pretty good. I think importantly, I want to start here. The Blazers are at home. They're chilling. This is the middle of a weird road trip where they went on the road for 4 games, and because of the NBA Cup, they're back for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Well, the guys fly out Wednesday, but to head to New Orleans. If you are optimistic about the Blazers, and regarding this little downtime, what makes you feel like they're in a good spot, Travis?
Well, I mean, first of all, you mentioned the time off, right? I mean, since what's today? December, is this the 9th, I think?
Yeah, you were listening, dear listener, December 10th, Wednesday, December 10th episode. And as a spoiler, Travis and I recorded this a day early.
So sorry to peel back the curtain a little bit.
Peel back the curtain. These are not live. Yeah, in any case.
Yeah, I'm probably on a plane as people are listening to this. But so in this stretch here of 3 days off, like between November 5th, the win at home over Oklahoma City, and today, the Blazers have had 4 home games. Like, that's insane. Some NFL teams have had 3 or 4 home games in this stretch. So it's a lot. Every team has to deal with stretches like this. I'm not saying that, well, the Blazers or, the NBA screwed the Blazers with the schedule. It is what it is, right? This just happens to be one of those stretches. And in that stretch, they've played some really tough teams. There have been some really tough situations where, you're playing in 3 or 4 time zones in a week. And, I'm just sitting there, right? I'm not exerting any type of physical energy. And it's tiring. I'm also not a 23-year-old peak athlete. Not that I ever was.
You bring it. You do road games by yourself on the road. Don't sell yourself short. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's different, right?
You're not an NBA player. I agree.
Right. But even still, like for those guys, like there's a reason why they have this schedule set up the way that they do for the team internally, because it is really taxing. And I saw something the other day. So somebody posted something that like from the Lakers side that like they need to ban road back-to-backs. And then somebody else chimed in, yeah, especially when they have to go from Toronto to somewhere the next night. And I'm thinking the Blazers just did that.
Toronto to Cleveland,
on the road the next night, and nobody said a damn thing, right? But because it's the Lakers, right now, it's like, okay. And LeBron didn't play in that second night, whoever it was that they played. But to your point, like to have a couple of days off now, right? And a stretch where there's 2 games in 10 days. Yes, it's a long down and back to New Orleans, and that's not ideal. But when you come back Thursday night, You have Friday and Saturday off, then you play Sunday, then you've got a few days off. So in this stretch, the Blazers have 2 games in 10 days. And they really need that, right? Because we've seen how nicked up Denny has been, and Donovan Clingan is dealing with that lower leg injury. But I said before, and I said this on the air, like I think there was at that point 6 games left before that the 18th, and things pick back up. If they go 2-4 in that stretch, and coming back to now, that would mean winning 1 more game. They're 6 games under 500 with 56 games left to play. With the easiest schedule in the NBA, there's a stretch after this game on Thursday where 8 of the next 9 are at home.
Yep.
And in that time, when the Blazers come back on the 18th to play Sacramento, in theory, I don't have any inside information on it. I really don't. You hope to have Drew Holiday back. You hope to have Matisse Thybulle back. I don't know anything specific, but I think there is a possibility both those guys could be back. And Scoot Henderson will be closer to coming back. I don't think he's going to be back by then, maybe, but I don't expect that. But you'll be a lot closer. So getting Drew back is a game changer. Getting Matisse Thybulle back, also a game changer, because
absolutely
he has been good from 3, and he's a remarkable defender. Just getting those 2 guys back and now having the easiest schedule in the league the rest of the way, I think there was a lot of room for optimism.
Yeah. So like I said, at that sort of I think 10th is about kind of where you would guess they would be. Where are the Blazers going to be in that Christmas, right? You'd say, like, I don't know. They're pretty good. They'll probably be somewhere between, 8th and 11th. If things go well, they'll be in 8th. If things don't go well, they'll be in 11th. But they're right in the mix. They're still right in the mix. Like, the overall goals haven't changed, but they've sort of survived this stretch, or at least like treaded water enough through the stretch to remain vaguely in the hunt. Had a bunch of injuries. They're going to get dudes back and things get easier. I don't believe, Travis, in projecting spring strength of schedule. Those games, anything could happen. Anything could happen in those games.
Totally.
Anthony Davis could play for a new team, for instance, right? Like, it's like, oh yeah, we thought this team wasn't going to be very good. They have AD now. That's a much better basketball team. So like, but yeah, just looking at it, it does seem to get, they've had a really hard schedule, and by virtue of just like win percentage, they're going to play teams that are easier. I think. Is there anything else? I've got one for you that I'll share with you to close the show here. But let me ask you this, actually, because you get to sit in on some practices. I know you're not there for every single minute, and you're not going to like tell us what goes down. But the Blazers have practiced one time with Tiago Splitter, which is such a funny way to take on the job as the NBA head coach. Okay. Yeah. Guess what? You are now the head coach of an NBA team. You will get to coach for 5 weeks and have one practice. Now you get film sessions and shoot arounds and all those things, but one true get out and hit each other, really work on stuff. How valuable do you think is this downtime just to like have Tiago put some stuff in on the practice court?
Oh, it's massive, right? Because with that, I mean, you think about all the things that have changed, right? When they were practicing early in the year, guys like Caleb Love and C.D. Sissoko, not as much Jan Hansen, because he was in training camp, they're all part of that. But like some of the guys who are getting key run right now that weren't getting that weren't part of that first unit in practice, like it's huge for them. Right now, obviously, those guys, a month from now, you wouldn't expect to be getting the same minutes that they are right now. But a month ago, you weren't expecting them to get the minutes that they are at this point. It also allows them to kind of see what has worked, what hasn't worked, right? When they were pressing and really, for 48 minutes, really pushing things hard, at that point, that was their game plan going into the season. Mm-hmm. Has that changed at all? And if so, how has that changed? And being able to tweak things on the fly during the season based on 20 plus games of evaluating, or figuring out, okay, this guy's skill set is a little bit different than we anticipated because we hadn't seen him a whole lot, or Denny Avdia is doing these things that nobody on the planet thought he could do. So now we're going to gear some things more towards him. And I'm not saying that that's what they're doing specifically. I'm just giving examples of things of how things evolve over the course of the season. And the other part of that too is with the defense. And I've talked to Nate Bjorkgren about this, is that, last year in the second half of the season, the defense was better.
Yep.
Right. And they had hoped, the plan was, okay, we're going to take all of these principles and things and then take it to the next level of development. They haven't been able to do that because so many guys are out, right? So it's like making the playbook for a quarterback a little smaller when you've got the backup or a rookie coming in, that kind of thing. And now, okay, we are a little farther advanced. We have a little more experience. Our guys are coming back, and we can now dial up the complexity on some of these things.
Right. Yeah, their defense has been a little bit better the last couple weeks. Their last 2 weeks, they're 12th on defense. They've kind of figured it out a little bit. But yeah, like to your point, I think they thought they would be top 8-ish, top 5-ish peak type of defensive team, and they just haven't been that. And some of it is like, okay, now CD Sissoko is a 18-minute a night starter. Well, that's not the same thing, and it's just the reads and the comfort and all of that stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I think getting out there. They went from pressing a whole bunch to now playing a decent amount of zone. They're one of the leaders in the league in playing a bunch of zone. So it's and I like the zone looks for the most part. I think sometimes they get a little wonky, but I like the idea of it. 3-2 zone with Tumani Kamara at the point of attack. That's fun. So it is, like you said, dialing in those things. What can you actually do? And like, it's so hard in film sometimes to be like, here you go, this is how it works, versus getting out on the court, being able to blow your whistle and say, no. That you cannot help off there. You have to stay home, or you have to get over there. Those types of things. It's just a totally different feel. I'm going to pitch for you for my secret, most optimistic thing of the Blazers last month. I am maybe not secret, surprising, most optimistic thing of the last month for the Blazers. I will pitch that to you in the second segment. Join us there, dear listeners. First, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by Mint Mobile. You know there's no reason to let big wireless drain your wallet, especially during the holidays. Right now, Mint Mobile is running their best deal of the year. All of their unlimited plans are 50% off. That means you can lock in 3, 6, or even 12 months of unlimited premium wireless for just $15 a month. It's the easiest way to take your overpriced phone bill and give it the full Scrooge treatment. And what makes this even better is how simple Mint makes the switch. No contracts, no nonsense, just real savings and real quality service. Switching to Mint lets you keep your same coverage for a lower price, and setup only takes a few minutes. You can bring your own phone and your same number with you without any issues. Turn your expensive wireless present into a huge wireless savings future by switching to Mint. Shop Mint unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. That's mintmobile.com/locked on NBA. Limited time offer, upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $108 for 12 months. Plan required. That's the equivalent of $15 a month. Taxes and fees, apply. Initial plan term only over 35 gigabytes. May slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverages varies. See mintmobile.com. All right, still chatting here with Travis Demers, the radio voice of the Portland Trail Blazers. Real quick, listeners, how about you join the Everydayer Club? You can get the Locked On Blazers podcast with no interruptions. That's an ad-free audio feed plus access to the members-only Discord. It's all for $5 a month or $50 a year. Just head on over to lockedonblazers.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes for more. Okay, Travis, I've got a good one for you. For me, I think if I'm telling the whole truth, the best thing that's happened to the Blazers this season is that Deni Avdija has ascended. But I'm going to skip over that. Because I talked a lot about Deni on the show in recent weeks. I would say the most promising thing that has happened to the Blazers over the last month, with all the injuries and all of these things, is that I think CD Sissoko is an NBA player. I think he's an NBA player. And I think finding a two-way guy that is an NBA player is one of the most positive things that can happen in a situation like this. I don't think CD Sissoko is an NBA starter. I don't think on most good teams he's a top 8 contributor. But I do think his combination of size and ball handling and passing is something that travels in the league, and getting him real minutes is useful. What have you seen or appreciated about City in your sort of up close view over the last month or so?
So I think you're spot on, by the way, because last year when he got in the games and in preseason, it's hard to really get a feel for a guy like that when he hasn't played much and you're not really seeing him that much. And you're like, okay, is this a two-way guy that's just raw talent and physicality, and that's what they like about him? He looked really, really raw. But now that he's getting these minutes, I think what I've seen from him is a real progression of his understanding of the game. And where to be. He's not making some of the same mental mistakes that he made even a month ago. There's no question that the physicality is there, right? I mean, he is a big, physical, strong dude. He's not a guy that I would want to see if I'm trying to be in a block charge situation, right? I mean, he is a big, physical, strong dude.
Yeah.
And he also, like, he's not afraid of anything too. And I think that's really important. Like, he has no problem going up against, elite players on the other side, whether it's offensively or defensively. He's gotten opportunities to take open threes, and he has been better taking the threes. He can slash to the rim. He's not shy about making plays around the basket. His first couple of games, he was deferring a bit and things like that. I think he's been empowered. And that's one of the things I like about this coaching staff is they empower players. And it's not just if you're open, take a three. It's if you see a lane to the basket, whether it's Chris Murray or CD Sissoko or whoever it is, take it. Go to the rim. And he's been doing that. All of those things, all of those little things that come with reps and the confidence and the empowerment, he is still a relatively young player in terms of his basketball experience, right? So I think he has a future in the NBA. Is he a starter? Yeah, probably not. Is he a key rotation guy in a championship team? Probably not. And maybe he develops into that. But right now, I think he has absolutely proven that he is an NBA player.
Yeah, I mean, on the year, his numbers are not particularly gaudy. And he's been shooting better recently over the last 8 games. He's shooting something like 34% from three.
Yeah.
But just what you're looking for when you have to when guys get thrown into the fire is, does he fit? And you can tell that they like him and trust him. They've kept him in the freaking starting lineup and kind of moved Shaedon Sharpe into this bench role. Like, they like what he brings there. They like the defense, and he plays into their switching scheme and all of that stuff. And it often, for young players, it's easier to put them in a position where you play with the best players. Where can we, Victor Claver, Novon Lay, I'm trying to think. There's another guy who's sort of gotten that memorial opening 6 minutes of the first half type of role in the past. But it's because
Jake Layman had been that guy. Even Nick Batum, when he was an 18, 19-year-old rookie, was in the starting lineup. Totally.
Yeah. It's you put players, it's like, okay, he has some complementary skills. He fits what he does. But if we put him on lineups where there's less talent or there's less like defined role, where your role gets expanded, well, he's going to get exposed. But I think they've discovered a guy who, he's an NBA player. And I think if there is a silver lining to kind of trying to navigate injuries and all of these things, is that you want to find hey, did we find someone who fits in the back half of the roster? We did. Okay. And now you can make some decisions from there. Do you have any other silver linings or reasons for optimism with the Blazers and their injuries? If not, I can pitch a couple to you.
Yeah. I mean, I do have a couple, because I know there have been some frustrations with some players in certain aspects. Right. And I think Toumani Camara is the one that stands out to me, that people have been disappointed in him. And I understand it, and I get it. And part of that disappointment, and I'm not making excuses, right? This is just kind of what it is. And because these are the things that we've seen and why, it's not that this is an excuse as to why that's happened. It's why I'm confident that it's going to improve and get better, if that makes sense, right?
Sure.
And Toumani Camara hasn't been bad, right, at all. He's still a fantastic defender. The problem is that because you look at the guys that are out, Drew Holiday, excellent defender. Matisse Thybulle, excellent defender. Even Blake Wesley, energetic, defensive-oriented guy. Scoot is a good defensive player. He's had to kind of pick up the slack in a lot of ways, and there's a lot more on him on the defensive end. On the offensive end, there have been times for stretches this year where he's been the number 2, number 3 option. That's not what he is, right? He's not a guy that should be taking 12 shots in a game. He's not a guy that should be taking 10 threes in a game. He shot 38% from 3 last year. He has struggled this year. At one point, he was under 30%. Now I think he's up, around 34%, because when he is at his best offensively, it's when he's slashing to the rim. It's when he's getting second chance opportunities and offensive rebound. It's not that sitting out beyond the arc and being a catch and shoot 3 guy. 58% of his points scored this year or from beyond the arc.
Yep.
That's not his game. And when this team is more complete in terms of the roster, his role will be more of that create your own offensive opportunity by making plays, and then you'll get 3 or 4 3-point shots in the flow of the offense type of thing. And I think for him, where that frustration is coming from the outside, seeing him, I think it's because he and really a number of players on this team, because of the injuries, have been kind of put into situations where they're asked to do things that are outside of their skill set and outside of their comfort zone. And they're doing them, but that's not what their role is or should be on a fully healthy team.
Yeah, I would actually be in favor of Tumani launching 8 threes a game. I think that's a good number for him. Over the last 14 games, he's shooting 7.3 threes a night, shooting 36% from 3. If Tumani did that, that's like right at league average.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, that's like he's fine. I think the defense has been hit or miss. I think there's been times when he's been fantastic, and the team hasn't been very good, and everyone's like, "Why does Tumani suck?" It's like, well, it's a team sport. It's four other dudes out there. But I also think there's been some times where he has let some of his overhelping instincts kind of say, like, I'm going to save this defensive possession, and he's gone off scheme. And it's like, hey, man, I know Matisse Thybulle does that, and it's absolutely wreaks havoc, but you are so much better in scheme. You are so much better just like right in someone's lap and in scheme and being a help side defender and being in position than trying to break scheme and do those things. So I think some of it is maybe the frustration with we're just not defending at the same level. I'm going to take this. Right. I'm going to be the one who saves us. And I think that has kind of led to some, and I think that's trust, right? You build that trust with your teammates. If they start to defend better, and they have over the last couple of weeks, they're a top 12 defense over the last couple of weeks, then he can stay in scheme, stay where he is and be really good. I think some of it that I think he's been fine on defense. I think, but the shooting is really the thing that changes for him. And it's just, like you said, role definition is so important in the league. And that's what they're missing right now.
Yes.
You know, some guys like, and we'll talk about him to close the show here. Like some guys like Denny Avdia, you can say like, hey, we can expand your role. And he just puts on the Superman cape and he's like, let's go. Like, I'm ready to take. But so many dudes in the league, when you ask them to do more, they just look worse. And it's like, oh, he stinks. It's like, no. He's really good at what he does because this is a specialized sport. And if the ask makes sense, he's going to look awesome. And if the ask expands, you're going to be like, oh, huh. I guess he can't do that. Yeah, he can't. It's like that happens across a lot of professions, but certainly in basketball as well. Let's talk a little Denny Avdia, and then I want to ask you about I don't know. We watched 7 or 9 good minutes of Young Hansen this weekend. Let's talk about those two to close the show. Join us in that third segment, won't ya? First, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by Game Time. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. Game Time's super easy to use. You pull up the app. The layout is so simple. You can scroll through matchups for all your World Cup draws, and the drawings are now officially set, and you can compare seats very quickly. Plus, views, a 360 view from your seat before you buy anything. Pick a game, tap a section, and have your ticket locked in within minutes. No confusion, no hunting for fine print, because what you see is what you get with the Game Time pricing. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets as well. Every match, plus concerts or events with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. Still a pass first point guard. Still Mike Richmond. Still listening to Locked On Blaze. Still chatting here with the radio voice of the Portland Trail Blazers, Travis Demers. Travis, Denny Avdia is going to make the All-Star team. I think that's just a fact now. When you watch him, how much has your sort of appreciation of him shifted to like very good player to, oh, star player, like true star? Like how much has that shifted just watching him up close in these first 24 games?
It has shifted quite a bit, and I think it's because to your point, right? It's been necessity, right? There's no point guard. Denny is not a point guard. Like, it's awesome when he dishes 10, 12, 14 assists, but it's been out of necessity. If Scoot Henderson is on this team, Denny is not that playmaker in the same way, but he has accepted that. And I thought you made a great point that some guys, when they're asked to do more, just can't handle it. Right. And then some guys can. And I thought, look, Denny's starting to get a little burned out. And
he looks tired.
Banged up.
He looks tired.
The game in Memphis, it was an off night for him, and he still had 17, 7, and 7.
Yeah,
right?
I thought I called it one of his worst games of the season, and he had 17, 7, and 7 with 3 steals and a block.
Yeah,
it's like, exactly. He's been pretty good.
Yeah. So with him, like, every time like he comes up limping a little bit, I'm like, oh great, they can't afford to lose this dude. But yeah, can he be a number one player on a great team? Yeah, maybe, but he shouldn't have to be.
Right.
And when he is at his best and he's doing all of these things, having other players on the floor who can do great things with him, I think it just enhances everything. Yeah, we have learned all of these things that he can do, and the fact that he can be that Swiss Army knife and a master of all trades, not just a jack of all trades. And he's been doing everything, shooting threes, getting to the rim, obviously getting free throws, defending, passing, all of this stuff. And that's great. But one guy shouldn't have to do all of this. Unfortunately, injuries have led to that. And it's like taking all of these different skill sets and putting them into one guy and saying, help us through this time. And he has. But he can't sustain that for an entire season and be playing at the clip that he is. The fact that he has, I think, says so much about the type of player and the unselfishness that he has. Because sometimes guys, like when they're in that spot where it's like, okay, we're thin, you've got to carry us through. They're taking 27 shots.
Right.
He's not doing that. And I think that also says a lot about, where he is as a team player.
Yeah, I think the most impressive part about his game is that he is the only guy on the team that can consistently beat his man and make plays, and he has accepted that responsibility, knowing that he also needs to score 24 to 30 points every night. Like he drives and kicks, and he trusts the whole system in a way that frankly, some of his teammates don't. It's like it is. It speaks to what Denny's understanding of what his responsibility is, and then just the way he's scaled up his game in terms of efficiency. Like, he's still a guy who turns the ball over a lot. He's still, he doesn't have a lot of in-between game. And yet he's having, with a massive jump in usage, his most efficient season. His shooting has gone way up. I think even he's mixed in some of those little pull-up jumpers and some fades from the post and all these things.
There.
I think when they do have someone who can run pick and rolls with him, either as with Denny as the screener or a little guy to come set a screen and get that switch and go hunt what you want. Like, he's just going to be so much better. The best version of Denny does less, but is still, we know that he can scale up. And then it's in moments, okay, 8 minutes left in the game. Hey, man, take us home. Like, we're going to get on, as opposed to 48 minutes left in the game. Hey, man, take us home, which is just, it's unfair, right? It's just, he's looked, I would say, over the weekend in Detroit and Memphis, he looked for the first time just like physically exhausted. And it's December, and you don't want that, right? The season is too long. It's unforgiving. It's all these things. So I think, if anything, this time off, great for Denny Avdia. I hope he doesn't get out on the practice court. Put your feet up, hang out,
take a rest, man. Take a rest.
Let your teammates practice. It is no reason to do anymore, because you've shown it. He does all of it. There's not anything he's right now on the court that he doesn't do. We've seen a tiny little bit of young Hansen. I think there is so much intrigue about him. And I think in the first half against Memphis, he looked pretty rough, right? He looked like a 20-year-old, but I thought he was significantly better in the second half, particularly grading on the what we've seen from him curve. I think that was probably his best stretch of NBA play. What have you seen from him? Obviously, he's pretty far away from being like a high level contributor, but I think he's growing a little bit, and there's so much intrigue. What have you seen from Hansen?
The IQ is there. There's no question. You can see, even when he's on the floor with veterans, the presence that he has of knowing where things are. And I think it's the maybe translation is a bad word with him because of the language that he's trying to learn, but the translation within himself of going from here and the confidence here or to his feet or to where things are. Even he had that nice assist the other night where he just he stopped in the paint and kind of looked around and saw the cutter. And I don't remember who exactly it was, but it didn't
I think it was
look
Tumani
fluid,
on the
right?
dunk. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It looked choppy, right? Because he's still trying to figure out where he's supposed to be with all of those things. And look, Zach Edey's not an easy assignment,
And
he picks
he's
up
giant.
a couple of quick fouls. The other thing, too, with that slow start, and again, I don't want to make excuses, but he started the trip with the team, right? And he goes from Portland to Toronto to Cleveland, then back to Portland to be with the Remix, plays a game, then flies back to Detroit to be with the team, then flies with the team from Detroit to Memphis, and then plays in that game.
And gets his first NBA start.
His
first NBA start, too. It's like, okay, you're in the game. Go guard this 7'4", 300-pound dude.
Right. So I think that there might have been a little bit of, fatigue in there too. But look, he's 20 years old. I think there are a lot of really, really good bones to his game. He just needs to develop them.
Yeah, they're in a weird spot with him, right? Because they can't play him 25 minutes a night and just give him developmental minutes because they want to be competitive. And if you give him 25 minutes a night, you're just not going to be very good. Just like the truth of playing a 20-year-old in the NBA for the most part. Nearly every 20-year-old is bad. That's just kind of how the sport works. And they can't send him to the G League for a month because they need him for he literally started on Sunday, right? They couldn't keep him down in the G because they need they need the body. And just for insurance purposes, if someone tweaks an ankle or whatever, gets poked in the eye during the middle of the third quarter, he might need to play 3 minutes. So he's kind of caught in this in-between time where it's like they can't send him down for a huge stretch of games in the G, and they can't really, because of their goals and the sort of their reasonable aspirations this season, really afford to just roll out the sort of learning curve carpet for him. So he's kind of caught in the middle, which I think is tough for him too, because he doesn't have leeway to play through his mistakes. If he struggles and plays 3 minutes, he's probably going to sit the rest of the game because they want to win, right? And so I think that's hard for a young player too, is he just doesn't have – other players in his position would have maybe a little more bandwidth to play through mistakes, but that's the nature of playing on a team that wants to be where the Blazers want to be. Right. And I also think probably the organization thought he would be a little further along right away, and he's not, and that happens, and it is what it is. Now you say, okay, we thought he could play 8 or 9 minutes. He's probably not there yet. Let's get him there. It's freaking December. He's played 24. He's played 24 games. We need him to be. If he's a rotational player in April, great. At this point, awesome. Right? You kind of change your approach there. Travis, where can folks find you, more of your work, and how can they listen to the radio on game nights?
Yes, game nights always. You can find us on the Trail Blazers flagship on terrestrial radio, 620 AM Rip City Radio, or on any of our Trail Blazers audio network stations across the state. You can find those at trailblazers.com. Of course, you can also listen on the Trail Blazers app and the iHeartRadio app. And am I allowed to plug my podcast on here?
Absolutely.
The Section 113 podcast, Chad Doing and myself. Monday or Tuesday every week we drop that, and you can find that wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, Travis is not only close, he has I guess I sit a row in front of him at Blazer games, yes. So I am technically something like 8 feet closer to the court, but he's at every game. He's there. Travis is on, literally on top of the action. He's really, really good. And I'll close with this. This is what some of my depending on where I sit on press row, because I kind of move around. I'm a rogue. If you're listening to this Trailblazers PR, I always sit in my assigned seat, but I'm kind of a rogue, and so if I sit right in front of Travis on those days, it'll be a bad foul call, right? They'll call just a crap foul call on Donovan Clingan, and I'll say to whoever I'm sitting next to, I'll be like, "Oh, that's tough," and I'll hear Travis bang the table and say, "That is horrible," and I'm like, "Well, that's the other perspective." So for me, I'm like, "Oh, that's a tough call," and then I hear the radio call is like, "That is horrendous," and so I love that the sort of the different approaches and the different levels of passion. I think Travis you really bring it for Blazer fans. So they're lucky to have you.
I appreciate you saying that. Can I give you a compliment real quick?
Please.
Okay. So I've been in radio my whole life, right? I'm trained in radio. I've done some TV, but radio is where I'm trained. And there are certain details and art forms to being a talk show host. Most podcasters don't have that training and don't have those skills. And a lot of podcasters and people who come from print and go to an audio or video format like that don't have those skills. I don't know what your training is, but you absolutely have those skills, the flow, everything. Like if I didn't know and I just listened to your podcast or watched you, I would think you have a radio background. And you do a phenomenal job of this podcast anyway, but I want people who might not know that like there are a lot of like little minutia and things like that aren't just easy. You have that natural ability. And I think it's one of the things that makes this podcast so good and that it flows so well because you do those things.
Travis, thank you so much. Dear listeners, come back for the cadence, baby.
Yes.
Come back for the cadence. That's what we do 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts, also on YouTube. Go listen to Travis on the radio. You can, if you're a League Pass subscriber, you can get it for free right in the app. It's a great way if you cannot sit down and watch the game to just roll through with it. And also obviously the Trail Blazers app and everywhere you get pods, you can just you can move around. If you cannot sit down and watch a freaking 4:00 East Coast start, because you have a job, you can listen to Travis and then run back home and watch the fourth quarter as on TV once you get there, or stay locked in. If you're a superstitious person, stay locked into the Travis call because you're saying like, okay, well they're up 6, I can't switch from the radio. I know if you're that type of fan, and I was raised by that type of fan, stick with it. So, dear listeners, come back for more shows 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts, also on YouTube. I appreciate you listening, and I will talk to you soon.